Welcome back to your D122 to part 2 of our book cover, going over our project. And I'm going to try to go over some process here, and I'm not going to do all the colorization. I'm going to work with a little bit of text, but I want you guys to work, so I don't want you to have to watch videos. I want you to be creative and work. So I'm going to work from this, but I'll also show you the beginning part of if you find something. So let's start with Photopea. You found something. I'm doing a brewer thing. It could be anything, but I could do baseball, old-time baseball, anything like that. Let me just find old-time baseball. Maybe I'll do old-time baseball, even though I'm not going to work with that. But let me just find old-time baseball, some black and white images, anything like that. Here, this is 600. That's about the limit that I'd want to use. All right, that's kind of a neat image. Let's see how big it is. 721. That's not bad. Let's say you're going to use something like this, and you can kind of work with the sky out here and kind of make it go up. So let's try something like this. So I'm gonna right-click on it. I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna go back to Photopea. So I'm gonna just skip over this for now, and then I'll come back to it because I'm not gonna do the whole thing. But I'll make a new document, and I just want to go over that when you make a new document, we're gonna make it 216 pixels per inch. So go in here and make it DPI 216. Now in Photoshop they call it PPI. And then we're going to change this to inches and make sure that the width is 5 and the height is 7.25, 7 1/4. So don't get that wrong because you're going to make your Figma file that same size. So 5 for width, 7 1/4 for height, 216 for DPI. So we're making a new project here. You could even call it P1 Book Cover. You can put your initials. I'll put Homa R, whatever. I'm going to create that. So that's how you're going to start it. It's all ready to roll, and then you're going to paste. Now that image is tiny right now because we're working in high resolution, but we could scale it up. We'll scale it up. It's not going to be perfect. It'll resample, so I'll bring it down here, and maybe I'll leave a little. I'll bring it about to there, and that's not too bad. I could make it a little bit bigger. And it gives me a lot of room. Even if I brought it up here, maybe I'd have something over here where my name is. Maybe the author's name would be down here, and then you could kind of fade this out. So that's something you could think about, and you could always move it down. Keep in mind, if you're going to move it down, all your layers are going to be moved down too. You know, your colorizing layers. So maybe I'll just leave it at the bottom. You can always bring it up later. Now, when I look at it right now, it looks really pixelated. That's because I haven't hit enter yet. I haven't okayed the scale because it's resampling it. Now I'm going to hit enter. And then before I do anything, it's not going to be really good quality. You may want to just go in and like image adjustments, shadows, highlights to see if you need to lighten any shadows. Let me just put preview on here a little bit. Maybe a little bit will help. You don't want anything too dark, so I'll make it about half, maybe about 20, 25. Just lighten up some of the shadows just a little bit, and that's about it. And let me go into image adjustments, levels, and just lighten up a little bit, give a little brightness to it. Again, we're going to colorize it, so I'm just lightening it up so the sky is a little brighter here, and I'll hit OK. And that way when I fade it in, I could put a color, I could use a blue sky, anything like that. So that's kind of a neat setup here. And then I'm going to colorize it. And remember, you need to save this. So I'm going to save this as PSD. And I'm going to save it down to my computer. I'm going to go into my Spring 2003 122. I'm going to go to Notes, and I have a book cover. Actually, I'll make a new folder, and I'll call it P1 Book Cover. And I'll just put SP23, just so I know it's different because I have another one there. And then I'm going to save this file into it. And then you'll also want to put your JPEG in there, and then also your PDF when you're finished. So you'll have 3 files in there when you're done. So keep this somewhere where you can keep opening it up again. Don't just leave it in your downloads. So there it is. Now it's saved. And I could color this. A lot of cool colors. Dark blues, blues for the skies. I'll work on that later. I'll still work on it because it looks like a neat thing to work on. I just want to go over process. So let's skip this for now. I'm going to go back to this one. So this is what I'm going to work on this semester. But for last semester, just to go over process, let's say this is the one I did and I'm done. And everything looks good and I'm okay with it. And it's saved. I saved it as a PSD. So it's all saved. And now what I want to do is I want to save it as a JPEG and bring it into Figma. So I don't need the PSD. So then I can go File, Export as JPEG. Now it'll go into downloads. So I just want to point this out. It'll go into downloads. And they don't give you a place where you could save it special. So it will put JPEG at the end anyway, so you could just leave it the way it is and leave the size the way it is. Keep it the same size. Don't change anything about the size. Keep it 100%. Keep the pixels that it has, and then hit save. Now it'll go into downloads. Now here's my downloads. There it is. Now I'm going to bring it into my Spring 23 and bring it into my GRD 122. Here it is. Now I'll put it in my Book Cover 23, even though it's really the older one. Okay, so what's in my newer one is a JPEG and PSD. Then what? Well, I'm done here for now. I'll come back to this. I could come back to this baseball one. I'll work on that with you, and then I could come back. If I was in class, I'd be working on this with you. And then this one is, if I need to change anything, I could come back to. So I'm going to close these both. And then what you're going to do in Figma, but let me go back to files. What you're going to do in Figma is you're going to make a new design file. Right here, new design file. And there it is. Nothing here. And then you're going to go to frame. You're going to add a frame. That's like a piece of paper. And you're going to choose letter. Now, letter isn't the right size because letter is 8.5 by 11. Matter of fact, letter is in pixels. So here's pixels over here. Now, if you don't know how to do pixel conversion, it's really easy. We're going to make this the same size as our image. And it's going to be 7.25 by 5. So the width is going to be 5. Now, if you put in 5, that's 5 pixels. But if you multiply it by 72, then we'll have equivalent to inches. So we're going to do 5 times 72 with an asterisk and hit enter. And then over here for the height, we're going to do 7.25, whatever the inches is, and then multiply that by 72 and hit enter. Now it's going to say 360 by 522. That's why in the notes, I think I say do this, and then it's going to be 360 by 522. Now I didn't even finish the notes yet, but that's where we're at. We're right here in the notes. Hopefully I know what to do next. So back to Figma. I didn't save it yet, so I should probably save it. Now, where do you save it when you're in here? Well, click here, just click off of it, and then go up here. And then I'm just going to call it, I'll rename it, or I could just double click right on here and just call it P1, Book Cover. I could put Homa R. That's fine. There it is. And then I'll place in my image and then start working on the text. So then I'll go to File. Now you don't do File up here. Remember, that's the browser. You go in here to the Figma icon and go File, Place Image, and make sure nothing's selected, no boxes, nothing. You don't have to even be on that. Don't even be on that. Just be off of it. And go to over here to the Figma icon and go File, Place Image. And then go find your image. Now I'm going to use the brewery one for now. So I'll bring in that brewery image and I'll bring it in. And I'll just click anywhere. I could click right here, I guess, corner of the page. Now it's big, it's huge, so zoom out and then scale it. Grab on the corner, and you do have to hold shift. In Photopea, you don't have to hold shift, but here, grab on the corner, not the little thing in the middle, but out on the corner and hold shift and just drag it in so it kind of locks onto the page. And I'll bring this in. It should fit right to the page once you scale it down. So it has all those pixels, it's just making it smaller, so it's just condensing all the pixels. So you shouldn't lose any quality. That's why I'm not making it 5 by 216 or anything like that. I'm just keeping it 72 and I tested it so that all the text still looks good. So there's our image in here, and you can even lock it if you don't need to do anything with it. You can just lock it, and then we're going to work with text on top of it. And I'll just do something real quick, just to show you the idea here. Is that's what I did. Early brewers brewing in the early 20th century, and I'll just show you a couple text things on here coming up. I think I'm just going to use Volkhorn for now. I don't remember what I used there. It looks like kind of a Bookman or something like that, very extended kind of serifs on it. But I'll go back to Figma and I'll just take my text tool, if you haven't used Figma yet, and I'll just put early. Now you can actually capitalize in here, and grab it we couldn't. And let me just look at the thing again. Now I have it all caps. I can just make the capital one. Well, actually, let me just leave it the way it is for now. And I'll go back and I'll use something like Volkhorn. I just know that font, And I'll show you, I think in typography, I showed you where you could find that stuff, but go in Google Fonts if you need to look at fonts. And I'll go here and I'll choose Volcorn. There's Volkov. I'll maybe try Volkov. And to make it bigger, you go to the point size, and there's a drop down for point size. You can make it 64 or something like that, even bigger. Actually, I don't like Volkov. I think I'll make it Volcorn. I think that's more what I want, and I think I want it extra bold, something like that, really nice and bold. And then I'll pull out a color from here. And if you need to make it caps, they do have a little options thing here. Or is it down here? Is it it's the 3 dots. I'm sorry. So again, on the text here, go down to the 3 dots, not the 4 dots. Go to the 3 dots. And they do have a thing where you can put it in all caps. They do have a small caps. I'm not sure how that works. I'll try it. And that works. It keeps that as a bigger letter and that as a smaller one. And you could go here and put this one as a capital letter. Now I just did that in my layout, kind of like that. Now I need these letters a little closer together, so I can go over here. This is the letter spacing. I'm going to go right over the icon and just kind of bring it closer, make them a little bit closer. And there's even a space here where I could probably even track that a little closer, meaning I could put my cursor here and I think I can move that Y over a little bit. So I'm just putting my cursor there. That's called kerning. And I'll do that. And if you want these letters bigger, you can highlight these, and whatever these are 64. Maybe you want them, or 70. Maybe that looks a little better. Okay, that looks okay. Now I'm not stretching anything yet. We're not going to worry about stretching it yet. Now I'll put early up here, and then I had Brewers, so I'm going to just copy this. I can do Command D, or I could hold Option or Alt and make a copy, and I'll do that. And I'll type over this, and I'll put a B here, and for here I'll highlight these and I'll put Brewers. Actually, they're not capital letters, they'd be small letters. Brewers. And then this would be an S, like that. So early Brewers, like that. And then I could center it on a page. If you want to center it on the page, just go up here, select one of them, and then select this and center that on a page. And then if you want to just nudge it down with your arrows, you could do something like that. And then I can highlight both of these, give it a fill color. Can I do both at the same time? Give it a fill color, take the eyedropper, take a kind of blue from there down here. Let me try something else. Or I can move this around a little, maybe something like that. Looks nice. And then I could put a stroke on it. Let me see how the stroke will work when I have 2 text things selected. I'll highlight stroke, and I'll make it white. And I'll make sure the text, it's on the outside, and I'll hover over this thing here. I'll make it a little bit thicker. Actually, not a whole lot. It's kind of hard to see. And I'll also go to Effects. I'll hit an X here because I can't really see the white too much. I'll go to Effects and put a little drop shadow behind it. I'll go here to drop shadow, click right on drop shadow, and I'll make my X and Y both 4. And you can see it already. That's actually not too bad. So I'm going to do maybe X is 4, Y is 4, and the blur is 4. If you want to do the blur more, I think you could highlight here and blur it more, like that. You could even make it darker. If you go in between here, I think you could make the shadow a little darker. I could even go down here and take this one and nudge it so they're kind of closer, so you don't see the shadow in between. But I think that's what I did. Let me look at my sample. Yeah, something like that. I used a darker blue there, but again, I'm just trying to just show you the process here. So something like that. And I can highlight this and then hold shift and click on the other and nudge them up. I could even group them if I want. And then I'll just take my text tool and I put brewing. I don't even know what I called it. Brewing in the early 20th century. Okay, that sounds good. So let me go brewing. Now if I start typing, it's coming in white and all this. I could go back and make it Volcorn. I'll just make it regular. Let me click off it so the whole thing's selected. Let me try that again. And then I'll go back and I'll make it regular. And then they should have an italic as you go through here. They break up the styles and the weights. So italic, I'll make that like that. And anything else I'll put back to 0. I'll go here, highlight that and put it to 0. So the line spacing is normal. I'll maybe use a brown color and I'll make it smaller. So I don't want it 64. I might want it like maybe, let's try 36, see what that looks like. And I'll make it a brown color. So where's the color? Right here. Right now it's white. I'll click on this, I'll take the eyedropper, try to find a brown color, and you can see it'll show up there, but it's kind of getting hidden. And I can even make it darker right here. I'll try something like that. And then I'll double click in here and start typing. Brewing in the early 20th century. Now that's too big right now. Now I want to show you too, when you scale it, you don't always have to change the point size, although you can. If you go up here and go to scale and you hover over here, you can kind of do it manually and bring it down. And I'll bring it down even a little smaller. That way you're kind of doing it by eye. And I'll bring that up there. Now maybe everything should go up higher, maybe that should be a little smaller. And I don't see all the type stuff because I'm still on the scale tool. I'll take it back and I'll go to move. Now I see that it's 23 in terms of size. Maybe I just want to make it 20 and that might look okay. Now I don't need any shadows. I might want to move everything up here. Might want to highlight all three of these things and kind of just nudge them up so they're up in that area up there. And again, center it on the page. And that's good. And then down here I might put something, I might put a little box down here. And I might fill it with brown. Here's that brown color I already used. I could use that brown color I already used. And I could go down here to the opacity and I could turn it down so I could kind of see through it a little, but it kind of creates like a little backdrop. Now that might be bigger than I need, but that looks okay. I think that's okay for now. I think it's okay. It's still sampling stuff for some reason. Let me go back. It got messed up. Like brown color, and then I'll hit X. And now I'll turn it down. I think I forgot to hit the X to close it out. Okay, so now it shouldn't be sampling anything. And then I could just take this. I'm going to copy this because it's nice and small and drag it down here. Option drag. Now I'll put it right here so I can see it, and I'll double click in it and highlight it, and I'll just put Richard Homa. And I'll make it white. I have to click off so that it's selected. Make sure you see the bounding box around it. And I'll scroll down here. I'll make it white. And X out of there. And I'll bring Richard Homa down here. Now, it's behind it. So I want to bring Richard Homa in front of the rectangle. So I could just bring it up. And if I want to make it bigger, I could use that scale thing. I can use the scale thing here. Make it bigger. Now I have it italic right now. Now that might be okay. I might want to zoom out just to see what it looks like. Well, actually that looks okay. 100% looks okay. And you might like that font. You might want to try something else. I might want to do it in a cap look like that. Again, if I change it over here, I have to go back and put on the move tool again. And now I might take it out of italic and I might just put it in bold. Something like that. Maybe that's too bold. Maybe semi-bold. Maybe just something like that. And maybe it's a little too big. It's 38 pixels. Maybe I'll make it 36. Maybe that's a little better. And I'll center it on the page like that. And this image seems like it's off a little bit. Let me unlock my image. Here's the image. Seems like it got a little white there, so I'll make it a little bigger if I can. Just slightly, so there's no white showing. And let's say that's it. Now I'm going to lock my image. I'm going to highlight this stuff again and actually nudge it up. And can I center it all? I think I can. I'll nudge it up, not too far. You don't want it too close to the top. You want it leading down, so I could even probably go down just a little bit. And remember, if you hold shift and nudge, it takes bigger increments. So that's kind of my layout. So this is my finished layout here. You don't have to hit save. You don't have to do anything like that. It's just about all ready. So I did that pretty quick. Now, obviously, a colorization I'll be doing in Photopea and all that, but that's kind of the process. So again, if you're stopped here and you need to take a break, you just go you go here and you go back to files. Then when you want to work again, you find it here in recent files. If you don't see it, click on recent and then just open it up again, and there it is. And then you can share this with me. You don't even have to bother sharing the Photoshop file with me. Just share this with me, just like we share our Figma files, and I'll show you how to do that. in the next video. So let me stop here and I'll kind of wrap this up in the next video, the finished parts, because I went over a lot in this video. So I did some of the text stuff in Figma and bringing it in here, and I did some of the stuff in Photopea. So this will probably be a long video, but when you're done here, you're going to share this, and you're also going to generate a PDF, and you can upload a PDF, and I'll show you how to do all that in the next video.